Welcome. We want to discuss processing of timber. By the end of this topic, you should be able to define timber, explain the processes involved in felling of timber, conversion of timber, seasoning of timber, and describe common defects of timber. What is timber? Now, timber basically is a wood suitable for engineering work. We have two types of timber basically. We have standing timber and we have a rough timber. A standing timber is a timber that has not been felled, while a rough timber is a felled tree. Okay? Growth of timber. Trees actually grow by obtaining its food in the form of sap from the soil by suction through the roots. Okay, so when this sap are obtained through the root, they naturally pass through the xylem of the stem and to the other parts of the tree. So when this sap, the tree has a way of, removing the water content of the sap. The sap contains some nutrients, some minerals, and also water. So they have their way of removing the water content of the sap through the leaf, through the process we call transpiration. So when this happens, this sap is kind of solidified, and they are retained in the stem of the tree. So this deposit of the sap, all right, in the tree will, as they keep depositing and depositing, they will form a tissue we call the cambium. This cambium is responsible for the secondary thickening of these trees. Okay, so as they continue to grow, as this sap is being deposited, they form a ring we call annual rings. So the number of annual rings you have, in a tree is equal to the number of years of the tree. So we believe the number of annual rings we have in a tree is the number of years of the tree. That's a little way of explaining how trees grow. Now, after we have looked at that, we're going to look at felling of timber. What exactly does it mean when we say felling of timber? Felling of timber simply means the act of cutting down tree. Okay? The act of cutting down this tree is called felling of timber. If you want to fell timber, there are factors you must consider before you fell a tree in the forest. You don't just see a tree in the forest and cut it down. There are certain factors you must consider. Number one is that you must consider the age of the timber. Not all trees are mature to be used for engineering purposes. You have to consider those trees that are mature, all right, because immature trees will lead to very high moisture content, in the tree, which will serve for a food or a safe ground for fungi and even termites, because the sap tastes sweet in their mouth. Okay, so you have to consider the age of the tree. So if the tree is mature, you can fell the tree. Secondly, you have to consider the season of the year. In Nigeria, to be precise, we have two seasons. We have dry season, we have the rainy season. So if you want to enter the forest to fell trees, it is preferred, it's advisable that you do that during the dry season, because during rainy season like this, we have other shrubs, other grasses, elephant grasses must have grown around there, and the land is a little bit weak. When you tread on them, they are weak. They are very loose during the rainy season, all right? So, but in dry season, you can have a safe path where you can enter and all of that, okay? You can have where you can enter your path to the forest. Okay, like I said, you have to consider the season. Dry season is preferred. Third, you have to consider the method you are using, the method of felling the tree. Not everybody can fell the tree. It has to be done by professionals. It has to be done by those who are trained in felling trees, because there could be fatal accidents, there could be a mishap, there could be accidents if proper care is not taken, if it is not done by professionals. Okay, so you have to consider these methods, you have to consider these things before you go to fell a tree in the forest. Now, when these trees are felled, they are actually cut into transportable sizes that we will call logs. Now, these logs, as they are carried by trucks to sawmill, where they will be cut into commercial sizes that we can use for either your furniture making or roofing. Now, these logs will be converted into these commercial sizes. The process of converting these logs of timber, or logs, so to say, into commercial sizes is what we call conversion of timber. So when you have a log converted, it means it's been sawn into planks or other pole lines, depending on what you want to use them for, or plates, as the case may be. Okay, so this is called conversion of timber. We have different methods of conversion of timber, but we're going to talk about two very common methods of conversion of timber. Number one is called plain sawn method, and number two is called the quarter sawn method of conversion of timber. Plain sawn method, just as the name implies, is just a way of conversion of this log, without considering the grain of the timber. You just have to sawn planks without considering whether it is along the grain, or you don't just consider that. So that particular method is called plain sawn method. Plain sawn method has this advantage. It's not expensive to convert timber. It's one of the easiest method. It does not waste timber. All right? Yeah, it does not waste timber, and it doesn't require much expertise for the log to be converted into these commercial sizes that we need them. But for quarter sawn method, considers the grain of the timber. This is a way of converting the log by considering the grain of the timber. This way, the timber is first of all divided into 4 equal parts. That's where the name came from, quarter sawn method. And they are sawn along the grain of the timber. The advantage this one has over the plain sawn method is that it produces a very fine timber for furniture. When you have planks produced from quarter sawn method and the one produced from plain sawn method, this one it has a more aesthetic value than the one converted from plain sawn method. All right, but the quarter sawn method has its disadvantage because it's expensive to do that. It's an expensive method, and it requires a very high skill for you to do it, and it also wastes it wastes timber. Apart from that aesthetic value it has, people prefer to make use of plain sawn method in conversion of timber. You can see from here what it looks like. Plain sawn method, very easy. But quarter sawn method, you have to, take your time to do it. You have to take your time. These are wastages, but this one will not incur much wastage. So for a businessman, will rather take a plain sawn method. Now, after conversion of timber, these planks are stuck in the timber shade, but they are still heavy. They still contain sap in them. So the next thing to do is to find a way of removing this moisture content from the log. And this process of reducing the moisture content or drying the water content from the timber is what we term seasoning. So if someone asks you what is seasoning, tell the person that seasoning simply means the process of reducing the moisture content from a timber. Seasoning can be done using two methods. Number one, it can be done by natural method, it can be done artificial method. Okay? Natural method, or we call air seasoning, involves the stacking of this wood in a timber shed. After stacking them in a timber shed, next to do, just as you're seeing now, is to take a heavy load and place on them. This you do so that these plants so stuck like this will not be exposed to defects of timber, maybe due to adverse weather condition. That is why you have to put a heavy load on it in case maybe we enter harmattan. If you allow it, harmattan will do a lot of curves in this timber. It's a defect of timber. Some of them will look as if they have a curvature like this if you don't have a heavy load on it. So when you stack this timber like this and allow air to blow on them, when air continues to blow the timber, some of the moisture content are evaporated. Of course, you know that air aids evaporation, or wind, so to say, aids evaporation. So that method, the water content will be escaping until this one is dried and can now be sold. This method has its advantage in that it is less expensive. It does not require too much care before it is done. It doesn't require too much attention before this seasoning is done. It will not take much from your time. It doesn't take your time. Like, you don't have to stay there to wait for it. But it also has its own disadvantage. The advantage it has is that it takes time. It takes time for that to happen. Imagine you want to, sell your timber and it's taking 4 months. It's taking 3 months for the water content to reduce. That will be a tell on whoever that is trading on the timber. We have another method of seasoning of timber, which is via artificial means. That can be done in a kiln. There are other methods like water method, salt method, and even electrical method of seasoning of timber. We will not be delving into that because some of the processes we may not want to be talking about them. But we'll talk about the kiln method because that is the one that is commercially used. Basically it's used for commercial purposes, which is what you are seeing here. This method is a method of carrying this converted timber into a kiln. So in this kiln, what happens here is that the moisture content of this timber is reduced, all right, to the point that it can be sold, it can be used for other engineering purposes like the making of the furnitures, roofing of our houses, and all of that. This method has its advantage in that it is fast method. It is very, very fast compared to natural means. But it has advantage, the disadvantage that it's an expensive procedure. It's expensive to undertake this, but it's fast. You see? Okay? Now, why do we need to season the wood? What's the reason for seasoning? When you season your wood, right, every seasoned wood, is more suitable for engineering work compared to the ones that have sap. Okay? A seasoned wood is lighter, hence it's easier for it to be transported. Let's say you went to timber shed to buy wood. It's easier for you to carry a seasoned wood to your location. Imagine having a wood that has a higher water in it, a moisture content in it, it's difficult for you to actually, transport them. It will be very costly to do that. Okay, then this seasoned wood, they are stronger compared to the other ones. Yes, they are stronger, but they are also durable. All right, because that sap that fungi and insects usually come to feast on is no longer there. That starchy content is no longer wet, so they will not see what to actually feed on. A seasoned wood makes it very easy for the wood to be polished. It also makes it easy also for the wood to be preserved, preservatives to be applied on the wood. It's easier for you to have preservatives applied on the wood when they are dry than when they are wet. Okay. We can also calculate the water content of a timber. If you are asked to calculate the water content of a timber, all you need to do is just to weigh or determine the water content before seasoning, and then after seasoning, you determine the water content, content or moisture content after seasoning. Then take a difference, right? Let's say you want to measure the dry content. You just have to say the difference. That means water content before seasoning minus water content after seasoning. All over water content after seasoning times 100. That will give you the index you are looking for. Okay. Now, timber have different defects. The one spanning from the time the tree is growing, and when the tree is felled, and when they are being seasoned. We can have these timbers experience some defects. So what exactly is defects of timber? Defects are blemishes in timber that can reduce the quality or utility value of a timber. These defects can be natural, they can also be artificial. Natural defects are those ones that happen to the tree before it was even felled. It is not caused by man, it's not caused by seasoning, it occurs naturally. All right. Example of a natural defect is what we call knots, shakes. Knot arises as a result of, when you have trees growing, some branches of a tree can just fall off. So when this branch falls off from the tree, it can develop a kind of a knot within that the log of the tree, or within the stem of the tree. So oftentimes you see fungi and some other microbe will be feasting in that part of the tree. Sometimes they will just appear as if we have the wood in that area, as if it's like a ringworm kind of. They form a knot like this in there, which is sometimes when even convert the timber along that side without paying attention to what is happening. If your timber falls there, everything there is dead. So if you are not careful and just put it between two things, the timber will break into two. So it's a very, 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 very big defect of timber we know as knot. We also have another type of defect, natural defect of timber we call shakes. This is a suppression that happens within the timber even before it is felled. So we normally see it. It's obvious when you convert them. The moment you convert the timber, that's when you begin to see this small separation within the timber. All right, that happens more especially to over-mature timber. Experience it a lot. Okay, we have it. We can have them in different ways. We have a type of shake we call the cup shakes. We have the heart shakes. See the way it's as if along the medullary here, see the radial shakes and the star shakes. We have these types of shakes you can see here. Then we also have another type of natural defect of timber that we call the cross grain defect. Okay, now this occurs, I think you can see them here. You can see the way the fibers of this timber, the way they align. We call them cross grain. This occurs when the wood fiber is not aligned parallel to the axis of the piece of wood. Are you seeing that? You see the way they are? You see the way they are? It's a defect of timber. We have artificial defects of timber. These are normally caused by, careless handling of timber, especially during seasoning or during preservation. Sometimes if they are not kept properly, especially during harmattan, that dressing has a way of affecting the shape, the look, and can even twist, the timber. So we have this defect of timber we call bow. Can you see that this particular timber here looks like a bow? It's a defect. You cannot use this for an engineering purpose without this particular one giving you a problem. This one too is called cup. If you look at the alignment of this timber, it's as if this place is going to contain some water if you have it. If you turn this bar upside down, that's what you're going to have. Then we have twist, where the timber is twisted as if it's kind of a spiral shape. So that is a defect of timber. Then we also have crook. Can you see the way the timber is? So these are artificial defects of timber. They have a way of reducing the utility value of timbers. They have a way of reducing their marketability. We also have another artificial defect of timber that we call check. Can't you see that we have an opening in the longitudinal section of this of the timber? The opening along this grain, the longitudinal section of the grain of the timber, is called check. A timber like this can't be used for something reasonable unless it has to maybe use for other things. But this is a real defect. We can't use them. You cannot use this for bench. If you do, people will fall off the bench because it will not take long. This one will break off. Okay, can you see that this particular timber has a lot of problem? Are you seeing knot here? This is knot too. Okay, let us take some questions from ExamGuide. Let us take some questions on the topic from ExamGuide. I advise you to make use of ExamGuide. If you must do well in basic examination, ExamGuide is an app that you must download. Okay, look at this question. It said, the process of reducing moisture content in timber is called option A, upgrading, option B, conversion, option C, planing, option D, preservating, option E, seasoning. Just from the class we just finished now, all right, that option is called seasoning. Seasoning is that process of removing moisture content from the timber. So the right option here is option E. Let's look at this. The process of cutting log into marketable size is called conversion, felling, planing, sawing, and seasoning. The right option here is conversion. Conversion is the process of cutting log into marketable size, and not any other method here. This is the process of cutting down timber. This is the process of removing moisture from the timber, but conversion is the process of converting timber into marketable size. So the right option here is option A.